Shalom, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, peace in the name of Yeshua the Messiah. The previous video we looked at the death penalty in the Torah, and we saw how thorough and how detailed the investigations had to be in order for somebody to be put to death. And in this video now I would like to look at the issue of how can we apply this to our lives today, not living in a world where the Torah is able to be fully adhered to. Now, Christians often make this kind of line of attack against us Torah keepers. They say, if you can't put people to death, then that means that you're not keeping Torah, and so you're a transgressor. You've probably heard that before. But let me tell you something. If that's true, then I'm afraid to say Yeshua himself was also not keeping Torah, which means Yeshua himself was a transgressor, which means that the New Testament is a lie, calling him sinless, and which means that Yeshua is not the Messiah. Now, none of that is true, of course, because it's all based on a false interpretation of the scriptures by Christians who are ignorant themselves of the Torah. Let me show you that the people in Yeshua's time, the Israelites were not free to put people to death for the according to Torah. John 18:29 says this: Yeshua is taken to Pontius Pilate by the chief priests, and Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." So they've brought him to Pilate in order to get him killed. Why didn't they just kill him themselves? Well, look, we read, Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law," because he didn't know what the situation was as yet. The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." See that? The Israelites by that time did not have the power to carry out capital punishment. They had had that power revoked by the Roman dominators, the Roman colonizers. So Yeshua was living in a time when they were not able to put people to death, and this is backed up by statements in the Talmud showing that this happened around about 40 years before the destruction of the temple, and it's confirmed here by John, by the Apostle John. So the fact that we can't put people to death according to how the Torah says so does not mean that we are breaking Torah. Again, if it does mean that, then Yeshua himself was breaking Torah, and that makes Yeshua himself to be a sinner. Okay, right, so Yeshua is not a sinner. Let's have a look at this. Well, the Torah does not clearly say, what we're supposed to do when we are not able to fully keep Torah as it should be as a community. But I think we have some examples of how we should look at this issue. The best example that I love to point out is the example of Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys who were taken away to Babylon at a very early age from Judah. And they lived in Babylon. We know Babylon was a hotbed of idolatry, a hotbed of evil, wicked things going on up there. For example, they used to worship the goddess Ishtar, and part of the worship of this goddess, this fertility goddess, involved having sex with temple prostitutes. Sorry if there's any young viewers watching, but it's the truth. They used to do that. Now, these people were to be put to death according to Torah. Did Daniel put them to death? Oh no, he didn't put them to death. Let me show you another example. We see examples of this in Daniel, in the book of Daniel. In Daniel chapter 3, there was a commandment that Nebuchadnezzar said that at a certain time of the day, all the people had to bow down and worship an image of Nebuchadnezzar. And then, so it happened, as soon as the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, that's probably not the best interpretation there, but and every kind of music, all the peoples, nations and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Now, did Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, did they go around and kill all of the people's nation? No, they didn't. what did they do? Well, if we looked a little, well, we know the story. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are brought up, and they're accused of not bowing down, and their answer is basically, whatever you do, we're not going to bow down and worship this idol. And they say in verse 18, "Be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Okay, so that's a good example, I think, for us to follow, is that, if the law commands us as individuals to actively transgress the Torah, if the law of the land says you must bow down and worship this idol, for example, then we are to say, no, we will not commit idolatry. You can do what you want to us, we will not commit idolatry. But with regard to those other people, like for example, we all probably work with people who are adulterers. We probably work with people who worship idols, Hindus and Buddhists. We probably work with people who worship, trees and the moon and the stars, New Agers. They're all over the place. In my country, are we to go around killing them then? No, of course not. Let them do what they're doing. We're not sovereign anymore. We are not living in a situation where we can enact the legal aspects of the Torah on other people. So just got to leave them be. It's got to be a case of, as for me and my house, we will serve Yah. Okay. But Paul was confronted with idolatry in his face. We know that in Lycaonium, the locals tried to offer sacrifices to Paul and Barnabas. What did they do when they heard? Again, Acts 14:14. When the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, they tore their garments and rushed out into the crowd. And so they explained to the people, look, what are you doing? Don't worship men, worship only the one true Creator who created everything. In verse 18 we read, even with these words, they scarcely restrained the people from offering sacrifice to them. Now, Paul did not get the stones out and stone these people. The point is, again, when you're not living in a situation that you can fully carry out all of the aspects of the Torah, especially the legal aspects, you are not condemned for this. You are not breaking Torah because people are not being stoned to death for idolatry or adultery or witchcraft or whatever. The point is that you, as far as to the best of your ability, you keep Torah in your life as best as you can. You keep Shabbat, you eat clean foods, you wear your tassels, you observe Torah as best as you individually can. But for those other people around you who are transgressing Torah, who are sinning away like crazy, we're living in a society today where sin is applauded, and I just have to go and put on MTV and I'll see some people basically fornicating with one another. I'll see Beyonce shaking everything that she's got out in front of everybody. They can promote fornication, they can fornicate on TV, but that's them. I can't, I've got to leave that to Yah. But as far as me and my house, I don't have a house, I'm single, but as far as I'm concerned, I am going to keep Torah to the best of my abilities, and I'm looking forward to the day when Yahweh will bring us into the promised land, when Yeshua returns, and then we will have total and utter freedom to walk in Torah as it's supposed to be walked in. So I hope that's answered the question concerning the death penalty.